y'all back again with another episode. I hope you guys are all doing well, taking care of yourself, eating foods that are aligned with you, and staying hydrated. So I wanted to talk about relationships and astrology signs and how relationships basically show you who you are. Your relationships can give you a mirror into things that you may need to look at, that you may need to work on, or an insecurity that you may have. You know, I like to call them sometimes like you meet your chakras. If you don't know what chakras are, they're basically these points within your body. So this is your heart chakra, this is your throat, your crown, your solar plex, which is your stomach. Then you have your sacral, which is connected to your organs, and you have your root. So sometimes when you have certain chakras that are blocked, meaning that's energy that's blocked within you that you don't use, or you need to get stronger in, you can meet them in the people that you are around. And so it reflects it, and you may even get irritated by the fact that that person is strong in that area. And the reason why you may get irritated is because that person is strong in that area and you may be weaker in that area. And so whenever we get irritated, it's just a direction of like, why are you irritated? You know, why are you irritated with this person? And coming to terms with that with yourself and holding yourself accountable for your energy that you hold, the emotions that you have. The more that you do that, the more that you're able to see yourself thoroughly, and the universe will open other doorways. God, higher self, will open up doorways for you to be able to bring that love back to yourself in that specific area to help you along. And in relationships, you may not get irritated, but you may be codependent. You may become codependent on that person. And what we want to do when we come into relationships is fully be ourselves, fully be financially stable, emotionally stable, and mentally stable, and physically stable. And if we are not stable in those areas, it's appropriate for us to be able to navigate that and be able to see ourselves in the things that we can get better at. Because we all know we all have weaknesses, we all have challenges. That is completely normal. And the world makes you feel like that's not normal, to be, you know, not so great in an area that you may have not fostered in your younger life. You know, there's all kinds of areas that we need to look at, that we need to nurture. We need to nurture those things, and we can't make them out of balance. So, you know, we have a lot of responsibility when we get into a partnership, and oftentimes we don't understand the responsibility of being in a relationship. We just want the fairy tale, the honeymoon phase. And if we went into relationships having an understanding that there may be challenges and disagreements, then we wouldn't be so put off on, you know, people that you're around or you're in a relationship with making mistakes, because our astrology sign is very limited. You know, when I was younger, I focused only on my sun sign. I did not know about my moon sign or my rising sign. And then on top of that, I have a whole list of other signs that are in my chart. So everyone, whether they are a Gemini and you're a sun in Gemini, everyone has aspects of different astrological signs in their chart. So we're not separate from each other. We're not. And so when we get so connected and dedicated to the fact that you are that sun sign and that's who you are, and then you go to the next step of even saying you don't like a certain sign or you're not compatible with another sign, you're limiting yourself, because there's a whole birth chart that shows you how you can work with energy. You may have placements. You say you don't like a Capricorn, you probably have a lot of placements of Capricorn in your birth chart and you don't even know it. So when we get into these relationships, or we meet people and we're like, I never got along with a Capricorn or a Gemini or a sign that you know that you don't necessarily like, there's something there that is trying to show you that you may have that placement in a prominent area in your birth chart that you may not be using. You may not be using that, and the universe is trying to show you, like, you have a Capricorn placement in North Node. That's probably why you don't like Capricorns, because the people who amplify that placement, you're not necessarily doing it. A lot of people say that Gemini and Virgos go together really well. And yes, to some degree, that probably is true in a relationship or a friendship. But sometimes they don't get along, or they don't work out in relationships, because people who are not dealing with their own problems, dealing with their shadow work, dealing with the things about them that are ugly, that they would never discuss with anyone else, the dark thoughts that they have, when they're not dealing with that, that is why people clash. It has nothing to do with the astrology sign, because like I said, we have aspects. A lot of us have aspects of Virgo being on our chart, Gemini being in our chart, Leo being in our chart, Scorpio being in our chart. And so at the end of the day, what keeps people together? What really keeps people together? It's them being responsible for themselves. And when they get into a relationship, they're having a notion that they know that their partner is not responsible for their problems, right? Their partner is not responsible for their problems. We're all here to be self-sufficient. And I know that takes time, because we've all been codependent in some type of way. And whatever sexuality you are into, whether you are straight or you identify with preferring the same sex, it doesn't matter. You're going to meet your match and the unhealed parts in you, no matter what you date and who you date, what sex you date. So we limit ourselves by looking at just the basics of the sun sign, and we separate ourselves. We cause division within our horoscope, and saying that one sign is better than the other sign, when we all have great aspects in us that we can use to help humanity. We just have to amplify it. We have to discover the great things about our sign so we can amplify that. But we can't amplify the great things within our sign if we are not dealing with our shadowy aspects of ourselves, the unhealed parts of ourselves, the insecurities, the shame, the guilt, the fear. So it doesn't matter how compatible it says online or on paper of what signs, sun signs work well together. It doesn't matter, because if you're not dealing with yourself, if you're not being responsible for yourself, then it's not going to be a fruitful relationship. If you have an expectation, if you put a fantasy on it, or you put people on a pedestal of how you think they're going to be, instead of coming into things open-minded and at the same time knowing what you want, knowing what you will put up with and what you won't put up with, and sticking to that. But I think we have gotten out of control about how a relationship should look like and how it should feel. Just because we have a bunch of butterflies when we first meet someone, it doesn't mean that it's going to work. Sometimes people meet each other and they don't have butterflies for however long, and then boom, it just comes out of nowhere. There's different ways of how people come together. And you can have a fantasy relationship. You absolutely can. But it has to come naturally, with a flow, not forced. Relationships should not be forced. They should not. You should come into wanting a relationship with an open mind, loving heart, no judgment about shallow things. Okay, because we can miss out on people who are actually right in front of you that is for you. We have so many judgments about what a person's role should be in a relationship. And it should be amongst those two people of what their role and how their dynamic plays out. Whether it's a man or a woman, everyone has special qualities about them that can enhance a relationship. And if we look at it as like, oh wow, this woman is good at doing more masculine things. She's a little bit more assertive than another woman. But that shouldn't determine how you treat her, how you look at her, or devalue her. Because we all have tools, no matter if you are a woman or a man. We are all special in our own way. We all give love in a different way. We all give gifts in a different way. And we have a level of attachment that becomes entangled. We have a level of expectation that somebody is supposed to make us happy. So when two people come together, they know that they are responsible for themselves first, then you'll have a better chance for the relationship to last. You have a better foundation. But that's not even like, that doesn't determine much either. Because it has to be two people that really want to be committed through the whole thing, through the whole situation for a relationship to work. Sometimes people leave too soon because they didn't know that a relationship was going to be maybe difficult at times. They think that a relationship is supposed to move smoothly, that you can't speak your truth in a relationship without it coming off as an argument or someone feeling threatened at the fact that you are bringing something up. So those are the things that you want to look at when you're involving yourself with people and using your intuition. And sometimes you're not going to get a relationship perfect every single time. You're absolutely learning yourself. You're learning how you engage with a partner. But as long as you're honest with who you are and where you're at, and you gave your all in the relationship, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to look back and be like, you know what, I could have done better this. I could have done better that. And sometimes you may be in that position where you feel like you could have done better, that you weren't appreciative of that relationship while it was right in front of you. But that is just showing you where you're at and where you may need growth and where you may be stagnant or stuck, and how you view relationships. We have to get to the core and to the bottom of our environment. And who are the people that you were around when you were growing up? See where their sun sign is, and look to see where you have that in your birth chart, and where you can use that and be like, oh wow, that person actually, we didn't really get along, but now I understand why we didn't get along. You may even find that you have the same placements as the individual that you are around. And it helps you, give you a better understanding once you see your birth chart and you may see theirs, and you're like, wow, that's why there's a butt of a heads. Then you can gain a different understanding of how to deal with each other. But it can't be one-sided. Both people have to participate in working through and wanting to understand themselves and growing. Just holding yourself accountable. It's simple. Not being embarrassed about where you're at in your life. We can't be embarrassed about that. We can't be embarrassed about where we are at in our lives. And we have to let go of the expectations that we give people. We do. We have to stop thinking that we know someone. We have to stop thinking that we know who they are just by what they can give, what they can offer as far as a job, a career. It goes deep. It doesn't matter how kind someone is. It doesn't mean that just because that person is a kind person or a good person doesn't mean that they're a good fit for you. It doesn't mean that they are a good fit for you. It's so easy to be like, oh yeah, that person's not a good fit because they did A, B, C, and D, something that's really apparent and so obvious that they're unhealthy or they're violent or they're, they just can't handle communication. They can't handle communication. Those things are important. But you have to also be okay with the fact that just because someone is nice, it doesn't mean that they are the one for you. And letting relationships come naturally towards you. Like, it doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't have to be a rule where a woman can't go after a man if she wanted to, or she felt that intuitively to go after him. There doesn't have to be a rule. There really doesn't. Because that woman intuitively knows that she should talk to that man for whatever reason. And some people may look at that as she's being aggressive. She's being in her masculine. Well, it's like, hello, we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. We have to get out of the fact that a woman can't be assertive or she can't be into certain things. It's not true. It's just a lot of women in their masculine side, a lot of women suppress that side. So when you do see a woman who is sure of herself in her femininity and her masculinity, whatever she looks like, people are threatened by that and say that she's too much or she's too aggressive. She'll never get a man. It's not true. There's someone here for everyone. And the woman who is balanced in her masculine energy and her feminine energy, you don't have to hold the story that there are men that don't appreciate that or don't like that or see you as overly masculine. That's their problem. That's something that they have to deal with on their own. So once you stop replaying that story over and over again, there are other people, other men out there that will align up with you. But you have to just get out of that story of telling that over and over and over again. Because there's billions of people on this planet. And you will find someone who's aligned with you, no matter what. I do not agree that you have to be a certain age to be married. I don't agree that after a woman gets in her 40s, she can't find a partner. Like, that's so limiting. There's someone out there for you at any age. There's all kinds of possibilities out here. You just have to have faith And know that you don't have to adjust to being any type of way to be seen, because your partner will naturally just come to you. Just keep being you. Just keep being you. That's it. You're different for a reason. All women are different for a reason. All men are different for a reason. There's no cookie cutter of how any gender is supposed to be or act. We all act. Why do we have to all act the same? We don't have to all act the same. We all like different things. And a lot of people don't express that because they are embarrassed by it, because more people are not expressing the things that they are into. We don't have to make it so taboo. We're human. It's so normal to be sad. It's normal to be unhappy. It's normal to be happy. It's normal to have exciting moments. It's normal to be boring and dull and not have much to say. All of that is human expression, and it doesn't need an expectation at all.